G'day guys, my name is Trent aka LaxLime, bringing you week 7 of the PGL. We are up against Papa C and the New York Klinks. He has a scary team with Genesect and Latias, two mons that are very difficult to prep for because they have good coverage, and Latias is just good against my team in general, really. But I brought a pretty offensive team this week. I've lost for the last lots of weeks in a row, which is a little disappointing, but you know, we'll get there. I feel like I've been practicing with my team a lot, and I'm getting a bit more used to how to use it. It's taking me some time, but you know, I'll get there and start pulling. I'm hoping to have a really good battle. I've got some tricks up my sleeve in this one, and we'll just get in the battle and see how we go. So I actually decided to lead off with Menethee. I thought it was my best bet because it just kind of hits everything decently on his team as he actually goes out into his Diancie. This is absolutely perfect because I can just go straight for a Scold. Even if he switches out, I could potentially get a burn on something, would be very helpful. He does end up going into his Latias, and this Scold really doesn't do too much at all. Which tells me he's probably defensive, or Scold just doesn't do much at all to a Latias. It is, you know, not effective or whatever. I was assuming this thing was probably specially defensive in some way or some HP investment. He does go for the Thunder Wave here, and I'm not super concerned about that. I didn't really build this Menethee to outspeed things or to be quick, mainly because I didn't. I kind of made it a more of a bulky sort of offensive mon. So the Thunder Wave doesn't really bother me. I just go for the Ice Beam. It gets a decent chunk of damage off. I'm really happy about that. As he switches out and goes into his Hariyama. Now, I considered Hariyama, but I didn't actually think it was going to be too much of a threat in this battle. And you know what? This close combat does so much. It has to be banded or something. It just does ridiculous amounts of damage. I was really, really surprised about how much that did. And I didn't actually really think of Hariyama as a threat at all, even with close combat and everything. I decided to switch out here, leaving Menethee around for a little while and going into Klefki. It is a neutral hit, so I thought, you know, I should be able to take that reasonably well. And I don't. That does so much damage. Just wow. I just go for a Protect here to see if he can switch up his moves or he's got something else to sort of hit me well with. So he's still going for that close combat, so I wasn't just 100% sure if he was banded or anything, because yeah. I just go for the spikes here, I needed something up to be able to get like a decent like switch-in damage on things as they're coming in. And one layer of spikes isn't much, but it's still a layer of spikes. You can't complain. I do just decide to go into Zapdos here, sort of best bet. I kind of want to force this thing out more than anything, and I know I will outspeed it. So he does end up doing that and switching into his Diancie. Now, yeah, this is like I can't stay in with Diancie because Diancie's, you know, ridiculously going to kill this thing with a Diamond Storm, like really hard. So I need to switch out here. I decide that my best bet to actually switch out into is probably my Snorlax. My Snorlax is especially defensive. I know it was Assault Vested. It was Assault Vested and max defense. Surprisingly, Assault Vested max defense Snorlax can take a lot of hits. It works really, really well, and you know, I was just playing with it this game and just seeing how it went, and that doesn't do too much considering there's no investment in special defense in Snorlax. It does have 110 base or whatever, but still. Yeah, I'm not staying in around for a close combat at this point because like close combat is going to very, very much hurt. I do end up getting the body slam off. I don't know if this thing is guts, so I don't really want to paralyze it, because if I paralyze it, then I'm in a lot of trouble too, or burn it or anything. I've got to go into this point just to go into Menethee, just to pretty much take whatever move that he ends up going for. It was a little bit just like I had to play around this this Hariyama yeah, it was hard to play around because I know how much damage it's going to do to everything. So I decided to do that and then go into my Arcanine. Hoping that close combat would do the most damage. It could be thick fat, so I wasn't really sure. So close combat was the main. It was just off killing him, and I thought it was definitely going to be a roll anyway to take out the Hariyama. Unfortunately, that was my Scarfer. So now that my Scarf is gone, it's going to be really quite irritating because like it would have been helpful to have that Arcanine for the Genesect later, especially with it had good coverage for most of his mons anyway, so it would have been really helpful to have that. But yeah, I had to get rid of this Hariyama basically. He does end up going back into his Latios here as I switch out and go into my Snorlax. Snorlax pretty much here to take a move. Even a Psyshock doesn't do too much damage to me at all. I think it does about like 30% or so, maybe 40 depending on his set and if he's modest and whatnot. So I'm happy to sort of stay in here, and I just kind of want to get off some body slams, I believe I went for, just to get some damage off. It will sort of hit more effectively on everything. Oh no, I ended up actually going for the Crunch, because Crunch would have actually taken it out from that range, or very close to taking it out for that range. But it does end up switching into his Fortress, and he holds the red card, which I was a little bit surprised about. Fortunately, I ended up actually going into the mon that I really probably needed and wanted to go into, which is my Zapdos. Now this is sort of the trick that I was sort of planning and trying out to see how effective it'd be. So I end up going for the agility here. I don't switch out yet because I have nothing that I can sort of take out with the Fortress. I am running a agility baton pass Zapdos. Actually, T-Train gave me the idea for this, and he can take the credit. It took me so long to gen this, by the way. It was such a hassle. And so I go for the baton because it has to be Gale from the Nintendo GameCube game. I can't remember what it's called. So I baton pass and Heracross, hoping that he'd go for the Ice Beam. Now this was a pretty risky move because if he went for a Psychic attack, it would have completely destroyed Heracross. So he does end up going for the Ice Beam. I know it's not going to do too much, and then I can take this thing out with a Pin Miss Up. Now, my problem here is now Heracross is slow, and even with agilities up, I can't outspeed either anything that's Scarfed or anything that he has on his team that's fast. So Genesect and what's the other one called? Tornadus. And Tornadus and Genesect is both super effective against Heracross. So he does end up switching straight into his Genesect here. And I'm thinking, I thought for a while, I think I used my whole time up on this move because I wasn't sure if I was going to risk it and go for a close combat. A close combat should have killed at this range. It may have not. And it was sort of a risky move. So after a long think, I actually switched out and went into Snorlax. Maybe that was the wrong thing to do. I'm not sure. It may have been. I don't know. I'm not questioning it too much. But I do take that flamethrower pretty well, and I realize that obviously he's got flamethrower, so that's a problem. I do end up going for the Fire Punch just in case he decides to stay in because it's going to do a decent chunk of damage. I do get a crit there, which is good. Be able to take a big chunk, and then he actually knocks off my with the Salt Vest with a critical hit. A little annoying because I would have been able to take a couple more hits in that case, but you know that's how it works. And so going for the U-turn, it's going to do nothing, like 20%. I think I worked it out to be. As I just go for the body slam for anything that comes in, we'll be able to take that. He does end up going into his Diancie at this point. He does take the body slam and then ends up getting paralyzed, which is slightly annoying for him. Yeah, it would be annoying for him because he would have actually been able to take me out with our Diamond Storm, I believe, or probably a Moonblast now that I don't have any my Assault Vest on. So that sort of worked out really well in my favor. However, I would have been able to come in with something and probably taken it out anyway. He does end up going back into his Wildsmith. I will go down to an Air Slash at this point, I believe. Yeah, I do. And then I can switch into my Zapdos from here. Now, I was tossing up for quite some while if I wanted to go for the agility here or not. I decided to just get sort of damage off. And he does carry the Icy Wind, which I was a little bit surprised about. I wasn't expecting that. But it doesn't do too much damage to me. And then a Thunderbolt will be able to take it out. I do get lowered speed there in any way, so the agility would have kind of not been too super effective anyway. So at this point, it was kind of like, I know I can survive sort of most attacks from this Genesect. I'll probably be able to take one. And a Thunderbolt is so close in the, like when I calced it, to actually taking this thing out. So it was depended really where he was sitting at. It was so borderline that it wasn't funny. and I don't actually end up getting it. So I was like, oh no, there's no way I can pull this off now because a flamethrower is going to take out Zapdos, and a flamethrower probably should be able to take out Heracross. But yeah, that's just the way. I don't have any priority on Heracross because I needed the coverage. I generally don't really bring priority on Heracross for some reason, but I might be changing that now. So Heracross is going to go down to the flamethrower. And then that's the end of the game. It was ending up into a 1-0 victory for Papa C. I'm happy with that. That was a good game, and I definitely used my team better. It's really funny. Like, I know I've got a good team, but I'm not very good at setup. It's sort of, I don't do it very often, and I don't feel like I do it well, so I don't generally set up a lot. Because of that, I'm finding it hard because a lot of my team relies on setup in a way. So I'll get there. It's fine. But yeah, that's pretty much all from me, guys. If you got anything to say, leave a comment. Let me know. And I will catch you guys next time.